Hello and welcome to This Grand Life. I am Julie Ulstrup, your hostess of the show, where we celebrate people who have inspired and empowered us. And today I am with Sylvia, who is a good friend and an amazing human being in our community. Today she has a story that she would like to share with us. So I'd like to introduce Sylvia to This Grand Life. Hi, Sylvia. Thanks so much for being here. We're looking forward to hearing your story today.
Well, thank you, Julie. Thank you for inviting me to do this for you, or with you, to be one of the stories. I appreciated the opportunity, and I had to think, and I didn't want to sound cliche to say that it was my mother or my father, but it is. My mother and my father are the mentors in my life. Especially my father, who has now passed away, and let me explain that he was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and as an African American man, that alone was a very wonderful. That says a lot about his accomplishments, especially in that time period. Then that he was a black officer and not an enlisted person in the Air Force. He was a very humble man. People appreciated the work he did. He worked hard, but he was humble. And the catchphrase, and I don't want to say it was a mantra, but how he did business was, he said, I ask questions until I understand. And I didn't get that, but in my own area, when I would say, well, if I made a mistake or if I was in a situation, my father would say, well, how did that happen? And I would say, I didn't really understand my situation. And his question was, you keep asking questions until you understand. The humility of asking questions makes people think that you don't know. And if they have to think that you're below yourself, or that you're not all that they thought you were because you had to ask questions, on the other side of that, you come out knowing what you need to know. So the humility of asking questions until you understand made him the humble, transparent person that he allowed himself to be the successful person that he was in all industries. After the Air Force, he went on to be an engineer for the aerotech industry, and that contributed to, he also worked in the church and through nonprofit organizations like Habitat for Humanity, where that humility really paid off, because all of those areas are very varied and different. And so the fact that he did so well in so many different areas has a lot to do with, he asked questions until he understood. And I appreciate that. And in that same way, my mother also, I didn't even realize how much she also carried out that same open. She seemed very humble. You think that, well, okay, she's just a very humble person, and that's just her walk of life. But she was spectacular. And one of the things is that at one point in her career, she was the first African American teacher in a eastern, up in Maine. And she never talked about it. It was just the thing of my parents that they have done some very spectacular things, especially for negotiating for the African American community, but they don't brag about those things. That was their life. That's what they did. That's what they understood their purpose was, to help other people. And I hope that they raised me to be that way as well, that I might reflect that same thing. That's my story.
You do reflect that same thing, Sylvia. Thank you so much for sharing those beautiful stories. And I, of course, have met your mom, but did not even know that. So thank you for being a guest on This Grand Life. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Julie.
Sylvia, thank you so much for sharing the story of your parents and celebrating how they empowered you by the way they lived their lives. Thank you for watching This Grand Life. And if you're interested in being on the program, leave a comment below or contact me. Subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and thank you for joining us on This Grand Life as we celebrate people who have inspired and empowered us through their actions and the way they live their lives. Thanks for watching.